Lorenzo freaking Musetti beats Taylor Fritz, sets up the match with Djokovic in the semifinals. How did this kid do it? People thought he was the underdog against Fritz, but he absolutely played an incredible match. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about the matchup with Djokovic, which is obviously the ultimate test. Djokovic going for his 8th Wimbledon, trying to tie Federer's record at Wimbledon. We're going to break down this matchup, give the thoughts on what Musetti did against Fritz that I think will give him a chance against Djokovic. We're going to look at their head-to-head. We're going to look at everything because that's what we do here on The Slice, presented by Betway. Let's get into it. If you're new here, welcome to the show. If you're here, that means you're a hardcore tennis fan, so you may as well subscribe because that's all we talk about on this channel is tennis. So appreciate you being here. Thank you for the support. It's been a crazy Wimbledon. There's been like more drama than I can remember in almost any tournament, outside of the COVID years. That was crazy. But we've got players telling each other to take a flight home or enjoy the flight home. That's Fritz, who's now out. We've got Djokovic making headlines like crazy. And through this has been a guy named Lorenzo Musetti just playing absolutely beautiful grass court tennis. Now, you Italians here, were so mad at me before this tournament because I said I was making fun of Lorenzo, making light. I love the guy, saying he was very dramatic in his celebration of getting to like the final of Queens. And he was. But I also said I love Lorenzo Musetti. And I know you guys are sad because Jannik Sinner lost in the quarterfinals to Dinamo Medvedev. That's sad for you. I get it. But you have a new hope in Lorenzo Musetti. Hold on to that hope. Hold on to hope where he goes into his first major semifinal after just playing his first major quarterfinal. And obviously now he's going to go up against the ultimate test in Novak Djokovic. But Djokovic's match against Alex de Minaur didn't have a lot to review because it didn't happen. Djokovic has had now what can only be described as an absolute cakewalk draw to the semifinals. Even if you're a Djokovic fan, diehard, if you're still watching this channel, you have to admit that. This has been one of the simplest routes to a final or a semifinal that you can have. Played Holger Rune, who played terribly, isn't a great grass court player. And outside of that, hasn't played any top seeds. Fair enough. You're in the semifinals, and now you're playing a guy it's his first time in the semifinals of the major that you have a 5-1 head-to-head record against. Alas, Musetti hasn't had the craziest route here either. If you look at it, he beat Fritz is the big match. That was a great win for him. He was the underdog there, the lower seeded player. He beat Pesci Pericard in the fourth round. That player's extremely dangerous, but he's not a high seed. He's a lucky loser. So Musetti's got here, but against Fritz, he really showed why he deserves to be here. He's played great on the grass in general. Lots of people have talked about his game on the natural surfaces. And Musetti, now matching up against Djokovic, has some interesting keys here. So, as always, I'm going to phrase this matchup from the contender's perspective. So, what does Musetti have to do to win? Because we know what Djokovic has to do to win. He's like the house. Like, if you just flip a coin, it's going to land that Djokovic is winning this match because he's won 7 Wimbledons, 24 majors. It's obvious. So if he plays his best tennis and he can find his best level with his knee feeling great, he's going to win. But what can Musetti do to get him off that level? And if Musetti finds his best tennis, then is it a coin flip or not? So, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened here against Claylor Fritz. And I want to preface this that a lot of people had Musetti as the big underdog here, and I never understood that. After watching Musetti beat Pesci Pericard and looking at the stats, it shows that Musetti has the highest return points won on first or second serve out of anyone in the tournament, and it did before this match as well. He had played Pesci Pericard. He had played some big matches, and I don't know how that stat really works. It's not a percentage; it's just like total points won. And he had played a lot of sets, so that's probably a part of the reason why. But 4 sets in the first round, 5 in the second, 4 in the third, 4 in the fourth, 5 in the quarterfinal. So he's played a lot of tennis. So that's going to be a factor. He's got less rest than Djokovic, but he's young. He should be okay. And Yeah. Anyways, let's look at the stats here from today against Taylor Fritz, because it's pretty amazing how this match went. Again, Musetti, he loves the flair. You have to admit that. His level can go up and down, just like Alcaraz's can. But, he found the way to obviously get this one done. Loses the first set, wins the second set in a tiebreaker, 7-6, wins the third set pretty easily, 6-2. And then he's up, then it's 2-2 in the fourth set, and he has break point on Taylor Fritz's serve. And you're looking, this is looking like a 4-set win for Musetti here potentially. Fritz survives that, doesn't get broken, then breaks, and then runs away and wins that set. And I said on Twitter, looked like Taylor Fritz stole that set from Musetti. So you're thinking there, is he going to collapse? Because Musetti's had collapses in the fifth set in longer matches against Djokovic a couple of times. So, but that wasn't the case here. That was not the case here. So if we just go and look at the fifth set only, this is where I'm like, Musetti is inspired. Taylor Fritz is still slightly more attacking based on the AI analytics. But if you look at the stats from Musetti, he wins every single category, literally runs the board. He got 65% of his first serves in. He won 77% of those points. He came to the net 7 times, winning all 7 points. He broke on both break points that he saw. And he had 11 winners to only 3 unforced errors in that fifth set. So that is the definition of clutch. That's playing in the biggest set of the match of his life, basically. So far, he finds his best tennis and plays perfect tennis for that set. Taylor Fritz looked tired at that point. To me, going back to this, Musetti was the big underdog, but I didn't really get that. Musetti seems like the more natural athlete. He's a better athlete. He moves more naturally on the surfaces, and he has a much better slice. And everyone's forgetting about the importance of the slice. I mean, of course they are. The slice is literally the most important shot, arguably, on grass. It neutralizes serves. Musetti's been able to neutralize these huge serves from opponents like Fritz by just blocking returns back on his backhand and forehand with an amazing slice. And then in points, he's able to change up the rhythm, keep the ball low with slices, stop people from attacking him, and bring Fritz to net over and over and over again when Fritz didn't really want to be there. And that you can see that because they don't separate. They just count it as net points. So you see here in the stats that Fritz came to the net 41 times and Musetti only 31 times. But how many of those 41 times that Fritz came to the net was it on Musetti's terms? Like Musetti drop shot at him and forced Fritz to come to the net, or hit a mid-range slice that made Fritz come hit it and then come to the net when he doesn't really want to. So it's almost like a disadvantage being at the net for Fritz half the time. And Musetti probably came to the net most of the time on his own accord and finished the point because he has amazing hands. So to me, this win makes total sense for Musetti, and he played like an absolute stallion. So huge credit to Stallion. Tough one for Fritz. It looked like his leg almost broke off, like on the second last point of the match. He came forward and buckled his knee. It looked absolutely crazy. I thought he was just going to shake hands right there and be like, "I'm out, bro. Bring me a wheelchair." But that didn't happen. So coming into the Djokovic match, you have to use creativity against Novak Djokovic at grass or on the grass. You cannot on other theoretically, like on other surfaces, you can just blast it from the baseline, but the ball doesn't have a consistent bounce on the grass. And with his knee, potentially the only opportunity for physicality, other than the fact that he's 15 years older than Musetti. Musetti's played a lot more, I should have looked this up before, has had a lot more time on court than Djokovic. Djokovic is going to be the fresher player. He's also going to be the older player. He's also going to be the player who has a knee issue right now. Musetti is going to want to bring a ton of variety to this matchup. He's going to want to be slicing a lot. Just slice. Just stay at home. Stay with Djokovic. Don't let him attack you because Djokovic can hit bigger through the court than Musetti probably can from both wings. And I think if you're Musetti, you do not just want to be sitting on the baseline with Djokovic. Obviously, he's not going to do that. But I really think the more variety, the more bringing Djokovic in when he doesn't really want to. These short slices that Federer used to do against Djokovic all the time. He kind of do the mid-range slice where Djokovic has to go down on his backhand, hit up on the ball from below the net, and then he's already kind of almost to the service line. So he kind of has to come in there, and then you can sneak in behind that, or you can just hit it to the open court. Federer did that all the time against Djokovic, and Musetti's going to want to go watch some of that. and take a page out of that playbook, because I think moving around Djokovic is the key here. Don't let him sit there and just serve and put away shots, and that returning is going to be absolutely key for Musetti as well. Like I said, he's won more points on his return than anyone else in this tournament, and he's been able to neutralize the Pesci-Perry card serve and the Taylor Fritz serve. He broke Taylor how many times? 6 times. That hasn't happened a lot. Taylor Fritz has barely dropped his serve in the last few months, and especially on grass. 6 breaks against Taylor Fritz. He's going to have to break Djokovic tomorrow. He's going to have to just get a lot of first serves back in play with the forehand slice, the backhand slice. Just get it in play. It doesn't matter if Djokovic hits a winner on the next shot. You got to get it back in play and start the point. Carlos Alcaraz, last year in the Wimbledon final. That's a great match to go back and watch. The shots that Carlos Alcaraz won that match with, the variety, Musetti's the same type of player. He can do that. If this was reversed and Fritz had made it through, he doesn't have that game. He's got to kind of blast from the baseline and serve through Djokovic, which I think is honestly harder. The variety is key. I've said that. Musetti can do it. And in general, I'm just excited for this match. Djokovic, the master, the grass court maestro, won Wimbledon 7 times already. Going up against Musetti, who's in the biggest match of his life, never been in a semifinal before. But Musetti's got an amazing touch, amazing feel around the court. So does Djokovic. So I think this is going to be like a pure grass court tennis match. And yeah, I really could not be more excited. We're going to see Djokovic do his thing, show us why he's the boss, why he's the man, why he's the GOAT. And we're going to see Musetti see what he can do, use his slice, use his forehand, use his passiona to fight. So prediction, Djokovic in 4. That's the mathematical prediction. I'm not calling an upset here today, but it wouldn't blow my mind if Musetti beat him. We've seen it too many times now. We've seen Alcaraz beat Djokovic at Wimbledon last year. We've seen Sinner beat Djokovic at the Australian Open this year. And Musetti, all these young players now, Alcaraz, Sinner have obviously reached their peak. Now they're like not their peak. They've reached the level of the hype that they've had. They've won majors. They've both been number 1 in the world. Musetti and Rune and a bunch of other young players, but really Musetti and Rune are in that group as well. And now Musetti's kind of reaching that plateau of where his talent and the expectation and the hype around him has put him there for a while. So this is huge for Musetti. He's going to be playing at the level he wants to play at in the deepest, darkest parts of these big majors. And he has the opportunity to really make his mark saying, I am a top dog. I'm right at the top with everyone else. And if he beats Djokovic, that's undeniable. If he loses to him again, if he blows a 2-0 lead again, we've got more question marks. But for now, this is a great step for Musetti, and this is a great match for us tennis fans. So my prediction, Djokovic in 4. What's your prediction? Let me know below. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know your thoughts on the Taylor Fritz Musetti match. And we will have an Alcaraz versus Medvedev preview coming at you later after this episode is out. Thanks for being here. Stay tuned. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you soon.